just going to record this today because you've already got a live lesson with Mrs. Morgan, and so perhaps we'll look at that going forward, that perhaps you can have maybe one video when we have lessons that fall on the same day. Our Wednesday lesson is the only lesson that you have, so perhaps that's a good one for doing our live lesson. Okay, so this lesson today is looking at the role of women in the book and the representation of women as well. Okay, this is a really important theme in the book. I think it's quite an interesting theme, especially when you look at the fact that the book was written by a young woman. Okay, Faiza was 18, 19 when it was written and published. The main character is a 15-year-old girl. And so this is a theme that is really quite important in the book. So there's a little bit of vocab here to start. I've linked that here on Quizlet. So this vocab will help you go through the rest of the PowerPoint, okay? So perhaps you might want to stop and spend 10 minutes going through that, or even 5 minutes just looking at the meaning, because obviously the meaning is all there. And quel est le lien entre tous ces mots? Okay, so if we have a look at the words here, we have a link. So le mariage arrangé, la parité, I've given it away because I've told you what the lesson's about. But it's all vocabulary to talk about the representation of women in the book Kif Kif Demain. Okay, so if you just maybe stop this a second, go and do a little bit of Quizlet and then come back. Okay, so Kif Kif Demain, la place des femmes. Ok, alors ici une photo de la cité, un exemple de la banlieue à Paris, la banlieue parisienne, the suburbs. This is an example of somewhere where Doria lives. Alors pour commencer, qui sont les personnages féminins dans le roman? Okay, so on page 10 of your booklet, there is a list. If you get your booklet out now, and we're going to have a look on page 10, there's actually a full list of all of the characters in the book. This is a really useful reference point. And they're actually listed in order that we meet them, okay, in order of appearance, if you like, as you go through the book. Alors, so what I've done is I've picked out the girls, the female characters, so you could maybe highlight those ones on your list, have them in different colours so that when you're looking through your list, you know who you're looking for. Okay, so we've got Doria, la narratrice, the narrator. Okay, Yasmina, sa mère, her mum. Madame Bourlot, le thérapeute, the therapist. Madame Dubois, du machin, du truc, du bidule, du quelque chose, the one who, she doesn't even know her full name. She doesn't know her proper name. She changes her name. She's totally not interested in l'assistante sociale, the social worker. Nasera, une voisine, the neighbor. Tante Zora. Tante Zora is an amie de Yasmina. So she calls her Aunt Zora, but she's not her actual aunt. So these two are just such good friends and have been friends for such a long time that Doria calls her Aunt Zora. Nadine Ben Barshish, she is the teacher, the one who puts up all the posters. Marre de la violence, enough violence in school. She talks about if only she put as much energy into her lessons as her posters. Karine, la petite amie de Amudi. So Amudi has 2 different girlfriends in the book. Karine is the first, la blondasse, as Doria refers to her. She doesn't have anything really positive to say about her. So quite a small role. This one, same as this one here, both sort of small roles in the book. Lila, la femme pour qui Doria fait du babysitting. So Lila is the mum of the girl Sarah, who Doria babysits for. Okay, so Sarah is the girl, Lila is the mum. Fatouma Konare, une collègue de Yasmina. At the end of the book, we see her on the news, having made a success of the strike, and the boss, who they didn't like, who wasn't very nice to her, ends up having to pay damages and compensation, and Fatouma Konare is a little bit of a celebrity for the work that she did, on behalf of all of the women who were working in the Formule 1 hotel. Rashida, une voisine commère, a gossip, a neighbour who's a real gossip. Jacqueline becomes a friend of Yasmina's. They do sewing together. She says it reminds her of Le Blé, being back home. Samra, une détenue dans l'immeuble. So l'immeuble is this here, this apartment block you can see in the photo. And Samra is the girl who is detained. She's a prisoner, imprisoned there by her dad and her brother, and she then later escapes. L'assistante cyborg. So when Madame Dubidoux leaves, they have a new social worker, and she calls her that, l'assistante cyborg. And Agnès Bertrand, prof de cap coiffure. So she's the teacher, the hairdresser teacher in the school where Doria goes, okay, to the college that she goes to. Okay, so my first question for you, before we move on, what we notice here is that we've got Yasmina, who has a couple of friends in this list, and Amoudi, who has girlfriends in this list, but Doria doesn't seem to have any friends here. There are no other female characters listed who are her friend, okay, and that's quite important. She does have friends, but they are Amoudi, Nabil. They are the children of Zora, Youssef, and Amza, and Reda. And she doesn't have any close female friends. Okay, so that's something else to think about when we're thinking of the role of women in the book. Okay, so first we're going to look at young women, young girls, if you like, in the book. So, être une jeune fille maghrébine. So, maghrébine, the adjective was referring to someone who comes from the Maghreb. And the Maghreb is the French-speaking area of Northern Africa. So, Morocco and Algeria and Tunisia. So, to be a young maghrébine girl in the Quartier du Paradis, in the Paradise Estate, c'est l'enfer. L'enfer means hell. Is their situation hell? What is their situation like? So from our list, there are three really that we're looking at here. Obviously Doria, Samra, who's a little bit older, but also Sarah, who's much younger, and her mum, Lila, okay? So on this question here, être une jeune fille maghrébine dans le quartier du paradis est l'enfer, I have given you 6 statements, okay? I would like you can either edit this, because you've got a copy of this PowerPoint yourselves as well, so you can either edit on the PowerPoint if you prefer, or you can write it on a bit of paper and take a photo of it and send it in, or you can attach a Google Doc, okay? To tell me, do you agree? Êtes-vous d'accord avec les affirmations suivantes? Do you agree with these 6 statements, which are looking at the situation for young girls in Paradise Estate? Peux-tu donner un exemple du livre? And can you back up your reason, your opinion, with an example or examples from the book? So a little tip here now is to get out your chapter summaries that we've been working on, each chapter, and flick through those, because that'll be a much quicker way of finding the examples that you need from the text rather than having to go through the whole book, okay? So use your chapter summaries to try to find examples. There will also maybe be some examples in the book, and there are some things in there that can help you in the booklet as well. So for example, dans le roman, les filles musulmanes sont décrites comme étant sous l'emprise des membres masculins de la famille. So in the book, in the novel, Muslim girls are described as being under the grip, if you like, of the male members of the family. And so I put, oui, je suis d'accord, I agree with this statement. And then my examples are Doria, elle est sous l'emprise de son père, même après son départ. Even after her dad leaves, she's still under his hold. She still can't get away from the hold that he had on them over the family. For example, I could develop my example here and say, when they have the fete, the party, and the whole of the neighborhood go, she says it's the first time that her and her mum were ever allowed to stay after the end, whereas otherwise her dad would have to come and pick them up. So I could put more specific examples in like this as well to develop my point. Samra is another one. I've put my example as battue et emprisonnée par son père et son frère. So she is beaten and imprisoned by her dad and her brother, and before she escapes, and that's, you know, a real physical example of how the male members of the family have this hold over the female members in this culture. And Lila put a question mark here, son rapport avec son ex-mari et sa famille. So she has this relationship that she had with her ex-husband and his family. Pas de contact. She didn't have any contact with her family because of the differences between their religions really and their culture. So she had to sort of give up her contact of her family, so showing a real hold there over Lila as well. Okay, so I want you to go through the sentences and decide if you are agreeing or not, and I want you to give some specific examples. Okay, finding the examples from the book is really, really important, and it's going to be what we need to show in your essay, because that's where the analysis comes in. And the essay writing here is called a critical analysis. So we are going to need to find the example and then really analyze it. Okay, so number 2. La narratrice nous donne l'impression que les filles et les garçons sont traités différemment par leur famille. So Doria, the narrator, gives us the impression that girls and boys are treated differently by their family. Do you agree? Do you not? Can you give examples? Perhaps here you could think about Nabil and Doria. You could look at Sarah as well. What does she talk about Sarah? How does she talk about if she had been a boy, what would that happen? So those are your specific examples, okay? Il semble que Doria ne se sent pas en accord avec les valeurs traditionnelles maghrébines en ce qui concerne les filles. So it seems that Doria doesn't agree with the traditional Muslim values concerning girls. So what does she say there? Perhaps we could look at Samra and how they talk about Samra. Do you agree or do you not agree with this? L'inégalité des sexes n'est pas vécue au quotidien pour les personnages féminins dans la famille. So the inequality of the sexes is not something that is experienced au quotidien, in the day-to-day, par les personnages féminins de la famille, by the female members of the family. Do you agree with that? What examples can you think of as to where perhaps there is or there isn't equality or inequality of sexes? Doria ne paraît pas avoir de sympathie pour la situation de Samra. So Doria doesn't seem to have any sympathy with Samra's situation. So look perhaps at the chapter summaries of Samra. You can find those in your book. How does she feel about those? Les schémas traditionnels parentaux et familiales se répètent pour les jeunes femmes dans l'univers de Doria. So the traditional parenting and family models, if you like, of being a family, being a parent, repeat for the young women in Doria's universe. Is this true? Is this not true? Okay, so do you agree? And don't forget to give your examples there. Okay. The next bit that I want to look at is les femmes, so women who are in the estate, la femme de la cité de Doria. Quels sont les points communs entre Yasmina et Tante Zora? Que représentent Yasmina et Tante Zora dans KKD? Comment évolue-t-elle dans le livre? Okay, so what do they have in common? What do they represent? And how do they évoluer in the book? There is a huge evolution for all of the characters in the book, but especially the female characters from Doria, Yasmina, Zora, Samra. Massive change from the beginning to the end of the book. So that's an important thing to look at as well. Okay. So you might want to make some notes here, or you've got this to keep, so you can just listen, and that's fine, okay? Elles ont toutes les deux une histoire similaire. Toutes les deux viennent du Maghreb. So they both have a similar past, a similar story, yeah? They both come from the Maghreb. Toutes les deux ont des maris, husband, violents et absents. So violent and absent husbands qui les laissent seuls avec leurs enfants, who leave them alone with their children. Elles se sentent responsables de ce qui arrive à leurs enfants. They feel, yes, responsible, but also guilty about what happens to their children. They feel that it's their responsibility, it's their fault that their children have ended up in this position. So, for example, Zora se sent coupable quand Youssef est arrêté. She feels guilty that he's been arrested. Et puis va en prison. She feels that she's failed in her role as a parent. Yasmina ne se sent pas à la hauteur quand Doria lui apprend qu'elle va faire du babysitting pour Lila. Je suis capable de nous faire vivre. And again, Yasmina feeling guilty that Doria has to go to do babysitting to get money. She feels that she should be the one. She's the mother. She should be able to take care of them. Okay, next point. Ce sont des femmes qui doivent assumer le rôle de chef de famille. So these are both women who in their perhaps the schema traditionnel that we were just looking at, their traditional model, the family model, is very unusual within this sort of culture for the woman to be the boss, the head of the family. Elles sont à la tête de famille monoparentale et assume seule, ou presque dans le cas de Zora, l'éducation des enfants. So they are the head of the family, the single parent family, and they are the only one who take over the education of their children. Or it says almost in Zora's case, because her husband is here for 6 months and away for 6 months. Yasmina doit en plus assurer le rôle de soutien financier. So she also has to become the financial support for the family, which she wasn't before. Ce sont des femmes fortes. They are strong women, malgré les difficultés, despite the difficulties, et qui deviennent plus courageuses et indépendantes. Elles se soutiennent pendant les épreuves. So they become more brave, more independent. They se soutenir. They support each other. Look at your plural ending here. Throughout the tests, the trials, the things that happen. Il y a une grande solidarité entre les deux femmes qui se connaissent depuis longtemps, si bien que Doria l'appelle Tante Zora. So there is a huge solidarity between the two women who have known each other for a long time. So long that Doria calls her Tante Zora, Aunt Zora. Un appui illustré par les longues conversations avant que Youssef soit incarcéré. So a support illustrated by the long conversations that we know they've had on the phone before Youssef went to prison. Pour Doria, elles sont des modèles, they are role models, et apportent une part d'optimisme et provoquent l'admiration. So they bring some of the optimism to Doria and they inspire her. She admires them. There's that bit where she says, I wish I could be more like my mum and not care and have that pride no matter what people are saying about me. And number 3, au début, il semble y avoir une grande différence dans les caractères de Zora et Yasmina. So at the beginning, there seems to be, there semble y avoir, there seems to be a big difference in these two characters. La narratrice montre sa mère comme quelqu'un de fragile, absent psychologiquement, déprimé par le départ de son mari. So at the beginning, the narrator shows the mum who's fragile. She's not there, she's depressed by the departure of her husband. Elle est aussi harcelée par son chef. She's also harassed by her boss in work. Cependant, au cours du roman, elle devient plus heureuse et s'épanouit grâce à sa formation. She becomes happier and more fulfilled thanks to the training that she has et échappe à sa condition. And she escapes her condition, her depression that she's in at the beginning. Quant à Zora, as for Zora, dès le début, from the very beginning, Doria la décrit comme une femme forte. Doria really describes her as this strong woman, une vraie femme, une femme forte en parlant de Zora. Okay, so these two women really, really key on any essay that we look at where we're looking at the role of women. Okay, so what I'd like you to do as a follow-up to that now is to translate these 4 sentences. So find the verb. Okay, this is the present tense. Most of your essay, it is going to be in the present tense, so that's really important that we can get the verb endings accurate there. So find your subject pronoun. This is going to be plural. There's they. They're talking about 2 women, so you're going to be the L form with your ENT. And I've put here a little bit of extra vocab that might help you there. Okay, so you can either do that on here or attach it to a Google Doc or on paper and send a photo. Okay, last person that we're going to have a look at then is Madame Burlot. Quel est le rôle de Madame Burlot dans l'histoire? Son apparence, sa vie personnelle, sa réussite professionnelle. These are things to consider. She talks about her appearance a lot. Her nails, her hair, her clothes, her personal life. We know when she has the baby and it's the whole, she talks about the Tintin adventures of the baby on holiday, the baby in the bath, the baby in the pram. Her professional success, she's a psychotherapist, and that's a profession, isn't it? It's someone who's had an education and training and has developed a profession on an equal sort of footing to her husband. And so how is she different to the other women in the estate? So how does Madame Burlot differ to Yasmina and Zora and Samra and even Nasira and Rashida? How is she different? She's not from the estate, okay? She's not of Muslim background. She's not from the Maghreb, okay? So what is the difference here that the narrator that is showing us between Madame Bourlot and the other women. Qu'est-ce qu'elle contribue au roman? What does she contribute to the book? Et aux vies de Yasmina et Doria. What does she bring to the lives of Yasmina and Doria? As much as Doria is dismissive of her, she doesn't want to accept her help. At the end, she does, doesn't she? And she's so grateful at the end. And she says, and I'm not even just saying this, you're going to be sending us on holiday, and this is the best thing in the world. And you've let go, you know, that idea that she's helped her out and let her go. Et pourquoi est-elle un personnage important dans le roman? Why is she such an important character in the book? So perhaps you can just write a couple of sentences for me here, 2-3 sentences about Madame Bourlot and her importance in the book. Okay, if you need some more support, you think you don't have enough ideas, you might have missed some of the chapters that we've read and the chapter summaries, then have a look in the booklet because there's loads of help in here. So this is both for extra help to do these tasks, but also if you can do them quite easily and you want to do a bit more or you want to stretch yourself a bit more, then these are the pages linked to the women in the book, okay? So pages 60 to 62 of your booklet have short exercises on each of the characters, and lots of these women feature in those exercises. So it's picking out key traits, key examples from the book that perhaps could help you with the rest of exercises here. Pages 63 and 64 have quotes from the book on Madame Bourlot and Yasmina, so that would be really helpful for this task here. Page 69 has some quotes which are directly related to the role of women, the place of women in the book, and then the same for 71 is La Solidarité Féminine. So it gives you perhaps a little point and it gives you a quote and you've got to match them up, okay? So there's lots of extra stuff on this topic, on this theme, in the booklet. There's one extra thing here which is just some phrases in French for giving your opinion, okay, and this will be useful for your essay writing. I mean, a lot of these you would have learnt last year for your speaking. Even though you didn't do the exam, you still would have had the phrases, and some more perhaps analytical essay style questions that might help you, so you could perhaps start picking one or two here when you're writing your little bit about Madame Bourlot for me there, okay? So that is the role of women, okay, and you do have obviously until after half term to get this done. Try and get it done this week so you can take a break off and take a week off for half term, okay, get some time away from your screens. And on the Wednesday then after half term we will do a live lesson on our next theme, okay. Merci beaucoup. You can send me your messages if you have any questions, and I shall be there to help you. Et bonnes vacances, oui, pour la semaine prochaine. Merci, au revoir.